Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that have shaped how they see life, offering you daily doses of inspiration and perspective to carry with you. Today's guest is Dr. Kristen Williamson, a licensed counselor who discovered her own neurodivergent superpowers during what she calls her midlife crisis. She's turned her late ADHD and autism diagnosis into a mission of advocacy, blending humor with heart as she helps others embrace their beautifully different brains. Let's dive into Kristen's world and hear the words that have guided her remarkable journey. Tell us your name and what you do.
My name is Dr. Kristen Williamson. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Texas and the United States. I'm also licensed in Maine, Minnesota, Kansas, and almost in Georgia. I work with people from all walks of life, but I now typically work with people who are diagnosed with autism or ADHD. I have been diagnosed with autism and ADHD, so it's a lot of fun to work with them because our brains work very, very similarly.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for accepting my invitation to be on the podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. This is wonderful.
Okay. What's your favorite quote?
One of my favorite quotes and just kind of a personal mantra that I keep is, we are different, but different does not equal less.
We are different, but different does not equal less. What does that mean?
For a long time, there was an idea that people with autism were not able to hold jobs or have families or maintain friendships or do much of anything except get placed in group homes or live at their parents' houses for the rest of their lives. And that's just not true. We can do just about everything. We just might do it a little bit differently. And I've very much come to understand that just because my brain works different than someone else's brain or someone's brain who might be more neurotypically developed, that doesn't mean that my brain does it any less. It's not wrong in the ways that I do it, in the way that my fellow autism brains do it. It's just a little bit different.
Okay. How long have you had this quote? Because I'm guessing this is your quote.
It is. I've had this quote, oh gosh, probably for a couple years now. I know about 5 years ago, I was put on my pathway of trying to understand my brain. I didn't know I was autistic for my entire life. I didn't get diagnosed until I was 39. And so I had this idea that something just felt off. I didn't feel like I connected with most other people. It felt as though other people could make friends really easily. They could do things the, quote unquote, right way. And I just didn't feel like I was doing it in the way that I was supposed to. I was consistently walking on a different path, or one that maybe was parallel, but just not the same path. And so as I was going on my journey of learning about myself, I really started to encompass this idea that just because we're different, it very much doesn't mean we're less. We don't have to be all of the same size brain, all of the same size human to do things in really cool and awesome ways. And I actually think that it's what makes us all very unique and fun and creative and just humans in general.
Yeah. Just because we're different doesn't mean we're less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the world does a really good job of pushing you down, that we don't need to push ourselves down. Like, the world's already trying to do it. And so let's try to build us up from the inside so we can help create the world a little bit of a nicer place.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, now that you say it, it sounds, you know how when someone says something like, of course you should know that, right? Like, yeah. But why is it that in actual sense in real life, when something is different, most of the time, especially when it pertains to humans, we feel there's this perception that either it's higher or less than something else.
I feel like sometimes we get stuck in our own ways to think that our ways are right And if other people don't know that, then they must be wrong, not us coming into ourselves and say, oh, well, maybe I don't know everything. Maybe I can help them learn about these things and they can help me learn about this. And coming in with curiosity instead of judgment and shame. There's just, I think, choosing to come in curiously, say, what can I learn? How can I learn this? What's a better way to connect with someone? I think that makes.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join. Or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
Life, it just feels a little bit easier. And it definitely, for me, makes me have a whole lot more fun interacting with people.
Yeah. Now, I just want us to look at it like top level, right? In general, right? Just because you're different doesn't mean you're less, right? And okay, sometimes in the things we want to do, right? And this is not just in terms of the things we want to do. We, for some reason, right? Because of the circumstance, the place where we are, we have a method that seems to be the method that we could possibly do it. Okay, what do I mean? If everybody has a podcast, for example, and you decide to say, okay, I want to start my own podcast, but I want my podcast to be this way. Instead of my podcast to be about entertainment and news, I want my podcast to be for this and this. It doesn't mean that your podcast is less of a podcast because you chose to
Right.
do it that way.
It doesn't mean that your podcast is failing or that people aren't going to listen. It means some people will really, really listen and pay attention, and some people say it's not for me.
Yeah. I guess the problem has always been from the very young age, right? The system, the society has a way of promoting, encouraging, what's the word? Comparison measurement. We're like, okay, how are you doing? You're like, okay, well, I'm the top of the class, so you're doing well, right? And the last of the class, you're doing terribly.
Value. It's a value-based system. I have good grades. I'm the top of the class. That means I have more value than someone who is on the bottom of the class. But in reality, being in the top of the class, I might have good grades, but I have no idea how to fix a car. Does that mean that I have more value or less value? No. It means I know how to write papers. But for me in my life, I can't fix anything with cars. So to an auto mechanic, I have lower value. And I think it's that perception of who you're talking to and where you're at and what your goal is. But if we are just coming for an all around look at everything, I don't think it's the easiest thing to say that one person's value and worth is determined by what they can offer.
Yeah, I think the whole idea is that people cannot, well, something they cannot understand. Usually usually it's they're like, oh, it doesn't have that much worth, right? And I'm looking at the society gifts and skills. It's like being in the classroom where there are, let's say, 80 students, and out of those 80 students, let's say 20 speak English, and then the remaining 60, some speak Japanese, some speak Chinese, some speak like Russian and all these other languages from the world, French and all that. And now, if the French guy is speaking, it doesn't mean that because he's speaking French that he's less of a language, like because he cannot speak in English. I mean, there are There are scientists in French who know not one single English, yet they're crushing it in their own way.
Mhm.
And in the same way, I just go back to the education system where people are judged, people are what's the word now? Are evaluated based on on how they fit in the old norm system. But sometimes French
Yes.
might be the language you speak really, really well. But because you don't speak English, does that mean that you're stupid? No. Doesn't mean.
I heard it put a quote from I don't even know where. It's you cannot ask a fish to climb a tree
Yeah,
and
I
then
remember the
judge
quotes.
him when he can't do
Yeah.
it.
They say if you judge the fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it's stupid or useless.
Thank you. I'm so glad you know that quote because I was butchering it.
Yeah, and that's what people do, and that's sometimes what we do, where we're doing things that it's not our skill, it's not even our the things that we have. What's the word? We have the talent for and all that, and then we start when we start doing those things, we're like, I suck at these things. I'm terrible. I'm this. I'm that, and then you have to like ask yourself like, what am I good at? What am I really good at?
And with the idea of coming in and taking the time to find what you're really good at, you might be good at learning languages. You might be good at getting babies to stop crying. You might be good at fixing televisions. And all of those are so cool. And I fully believe humans, like every individual, is amazingly spectacular at something.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not all the same things.
Yeah, that's the thing. There are people who they have this analytical mind. They're good with numbers. Anything that has to do with numbers, they get it. While there are people who, if it's language, they love it. Like they understand it. Their brain can go around it, right? But if you try to like analyze the guy that's good with numbers, you try to like say, well, you're not arts style kind of guy. At that point in time, he looks like he's stupid. But when it comes to numbers, when he starts crunching the numbers, you're wondering what's going on here, right? And for especially for the young people, I feel that because people are like, well, I don't know what I'm good at. The thing about knowing what you're good at is that you have to explore and try out things, right?
You have to be brave enough to be horrible at something new because we are not all born being good at most anything. I think I heard it put before it can take upwards of 10,000 hours to be
Malcolm
considered an
Gladwell.
expert at anything.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. They have
That's
my
a lot of hours.
yeah. Is it the idea when I talk about someone being good at something, it doesn't necessarily mean that the thing that you were talking about, you have to be an expert per se. It's just that you realize that when you're doing this thing, it's easier. You understand how everything connects together.
Yeah. And not being afraid to ask questions.
Yeah, not being afraid to look stupid just so you can be
No.
smart, right? Because people want to look smart rather than be smart.
And I think that's where we can come in and humble ourselves
Yeah,
and say that it's okay. It's okay to look stupid. It's okay to ask questions. I think if we don't ask questions and we just pretend we know the answers, that makes us end up looking more stupid in the end.
yeah.
Then had we just taken the time and pushed our pride down and asked for assistance.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Christine.
Thank you. Oh, I love answering questions. They're so much fun.
What's a key takeaway you want my listeners to take from this episode?
For your listeners and for everyone who's listening, I want you to remember that it's not your job to make yourself smaller in order to make other people feel good.
Ooh.
That we can all fit together. And it's finding the people who are willing to shine with you.
Yeah, it's not your job. Oh, I like that. I think I've seen a similar quote to that. That is the fact that you rise doesn't mean that someone else is failing. Or the fact that someone else is yeah, right. Because sometimes you're like, oh, I'm rising. No, it has nothing to do with that.
Nothing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Christine. Thank
you.
It's been an absolute delight chatting with you. I'm happy that you shared your favorite quote with me. and you helped me make sense of it.
Thank you for allowing me to share my favorite quote with all your listeners.
Yeah. Where can my listeners learn more about you and what you do?
You can find me on TikTok and Dr. Kristen Williamson. I try to post videos daily.
Okay. Dr. Kristen Williamson on TikTok. What about some of my listeners that are like, TikTok, not for me. I mean,
You know what? Fair enough. I
it's
can be found on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook, and I'd say pretty much every social media except Twitter, because I don't have Twitter.
So because Twitter is different, does that mean Twitter is less? What are you doing?
It doesn't mean it's less. It means I'm lazy.
Yeah, okay, probably in the future you'll be on Twitter, but for now
That's right.
on
That's
Facebook
right.
and LinkedIn and all these other social platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kristen.
Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day. Take care.
You've been listening to Relatable Wisdom, and I've been your host, Wisdom Okonkwo. You've been listening to the podcast where every story, quote, and insight helps you see life a little differently. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow the show on your favorite podcast app and share it with someone who loved the conversation. For more inspiring voices and timeless wisdom, visit relatablewisdom.com. Until next time, keep living, learning, and collecting wisdom that matters most to you.